Chris Daviduk, our very own software developer, programmer, musician. He has his very own band called Sexy Mathematics. But today, he's talking about his new game for iOS, Emergent Fates. Go ahead, Chris.
Cool. Yeah. So some of you may recall a similar talk a couple of years ago, but this one's going to be a lot better. So yeah, stay tuned. So basically, I'm here to talk about a video game I've been working on for a few years called Emergent Fates. And it's an RPG, 2D RPG, turn-based for iOS. And I'm just going to start with this quote. I kind of like it. I used it last time. Some people might think it's stupid, which is why I kind of like it, because the focus on this quote is about when you're working on something, you know, not that it shouldn't be successful or that it can't be, but that shouldn't be the focus of what you're doing in order to make it as best as it could be. And I think like you hear companies like Apple talking about how they make the products that like they want to use, as opposed to like doing much research into what they think will sell the most. And I think this kind of encapsulates that. So I try to keep that in mind whenever I'm working on something, even at work, why not? So yeah. This is basically the opening screen of the game, kind of give you an idea of kind of the look and feel of it. So yeah, this was not here 2 years ago, so already a little something new. And yeah, so I started working on it a few years ago and just kind of on my own, and basically within the last couple of years found someone to do artwork. And so it kind of definitely motivates you to keep working on it when you can work with actual artwork and not just a bunch of placeholder and stuff. But yeah, I just want to whoa, one at a time. Okay, so I'm basically here talking about my experience kind of from start to where I am now when I approached making this game. So a few years ago, well, actually, sorry, growing up, yeah, there's a lot of, I was like big gamer, there's a lot of great RPGs, I still play them. And I always had this idea that there was this company with, you know, hundreds of people. Oh man, time's up, sorry. Yeah, there's a company with hundreds of people and probably another like 100 people whipping those people. And basically that like a single person or a group of people couldn't actually make a game. And so, and I didn't want to work for one of those huge companies with, you know, you think like when Christmas is coming, you're working 12 or more hours a day and it just kind of ruins your life. But so yeah, once the App Store came out, it was like totally changed everything, as everyone's already aware. And this was like quite a few years ago now. So even actually I've been dabbling during like jam time and stuff. A few of us would dabble on just making little really simple apps. And at the time, and even to an extent now, there's obviously a lot more games and stuff available now than there used to be. There still isn't a lot of original games similar to what I would argue I'm making. There's a lot of ports, which a lot of them are really good. But yeah, I just kind of got this idea that it looked like something could be fun and interesting. It was new. And yeah, and so I thought I could kind of create something that maybe didn't quite exist yet. So getting started, I never done game development before. Like again, I didn't really think ever I could actually do it. I started going through some tutorials and kind of got the realization that actually creating a little map and moving a character around is something that a single person can do, and you just kind of build off that. So having said that, I want to kind of keep my investment to a minimum to start with. And so I used this at the end there. It's called Cocos 2D. It's a 2D animation framework specific to iOS. You basically use Xcode, which is, if anyone's used that, it's all just Apple stuff, right? And so at the time, it was a pretty popular framework. It was free. There's still actually pretty good community of people using it. There's lots of good support and resources. So, and it's gone over pretty well. And so, yeah, decided to use that. And then like worked on it for a bit, take a break for a couple of months, kind of come back to it. It's kind of hard to stay motivated. And as you work on it more, you realize that the scope is a lot bigger than what you kind of initially thought. And I didn't have I was kind of talking to some friends and different people and had trouble finding someone who could commit to doing the artwork. And like any new project, you have like a million ideas. And so you have to spend quite a bit of time trying to figure out which ones you actually want to build or should build. And I'm still kind of battling with that, but it's getting better. And then finally, I did find an artist a couple of years ago, and all the artwork featured on these slides are artwork from the game. So I was pretty stoked because initially I kind of had this idea that I would use game assets that were kind of similar to games I'd played before. But I was fortunate to find someone who I think even now still has a very kind of unique style that's I don't see in a lot of games. So I kind of got lucky in that respect. But we've been working together for a few years, and kind of it's been interesting kind of taking like processes and knowledge you learn at work and applying them to sort of managing your own project and people, and keeping those stories going and finished, and keeping that workflow consistently going every month and every week, and making sure that work gets done kind of in a consistent fashion. This isn't a game where we're trying to get everything done in a few months. It's more of a game where we're trying to just make sure we're always working on it for a few hours every week. And as it's mentioned, I've kind of, over that time, as you build prototypes, you get to actually play the game and actually use it. You kind of get an idea of what you kind of should or should not build and what kind of makes most sense. And so I tried to kind of base my idea off a lot of existing games I've played and kind of take out what I thought was the best features of those games and kind of create one that kind of had kind of inspired by all of those and kind of take a combination of those best elements. So that's kind of what I've been hoping for. And yeah, so hopefully I plan to release it this next year. Typically in the past, I've just said that it'll kind of get released when it's done. I feel like putting a stake in the ground at this point is probably a good idea. So it releases before I die, basically. There's still a lot of work to do. So I'm kind of like not sure if in a year from now that I'm going to be regretting saying it's coming out in 2016. But I have just over a year and a month to go. So I think I can do it by then. And ultimately, as you're working on it, like I said, we have this sort of consistent workflow. So every week, essentially, you see new artwork, you put it in the game, and you see different elements of the game kind of come to life over week at a time or a month at a time. And so things like that still make it a lot of fun to work on. I'm not even mentioning with an RPG, there's a lot of story elements, which I've been involved with. I kind of use this project to kind of as a creative, I guess, opportunity to utilize a lot of different creative interests. So writing, some music. I'm not personally doing the artwork because I can't, but even like programming in a sort of almost more creative setting. And ultimately, yeah, it's still fun to work on. So I've been really happy with it. I'm looking forward to it being in other people's hands at some point, but it's been a challenge, but it's a lot of fun. One thing I want to kind of stress, I hope, I'm hoping that this talk also gives kind of people an idea of what goes into what I've been doing. And if you do something, basically like you are capable of also doing something yourself. And I mean, I wouldn't recommend doing an RPG because it turns out it takes like 5 years, but there's a lot of cool projects that you can do in like a weekend. I think the next slide kind of highlights that. So yeah, in retrospect, so at the time I started working on this, a lot of tools that are available now were not available. Unity is probably the most popular one at this point. And the game I'm working on, because it's iOS specific, you kind of are limited to what you can release it on. Things like GameMaker and Unity now, you can release it on any platform, whether it be Wii U to like, I think there's like about a dozen people that have those. And then there's like a PS4, which has like millions of people worldwide, right? So you can release it on anything. And those kind of frameworks let you do that. So that's something I'm really looking forward to after I'm done working on my current project, to kind of look into other opportunities and maybe release games on, for more people. And there's just a lot of opportunities out there. It's really exciting, even if have never done anything before, to get started right now, because every year the tools and the opportunities just get better and better and better. It becomes easier to do really like amazing things. And even like if you want to like jam or hack on it over a weekend. And one of the things I just wanted to mention too at the end there, I ended up basically writing my own RPG sort of framework, including all of the stat management, class system, attack, like battle systems and all that. There's a lot of RPG kind of kits nowadays that weren't available at that time. Having said that, I do think kind of mixed feelings, but I think starting out, if you're working on if you're new to game development, there is a lot of benefit to kind of doing things on your own the first time, because you learn a lot along the way. And I certainly have. And having said that, with Unity, they basically have like an app store for developers where you can basically buy just like an RPG framework, and then it's like filling out a form and you basically have a game. So that might appeal more to some people, but doing it from scratch is definitely a kind of fun and excellent learning experience if that kind of interests you as well. And I have a little, yeah, this is what I thought. It's a little GIF from the game, just kind of to show off the artwork. Okay, it's a little smoother now, hopefully. But yeah, I think like the best part of the game right now is the artwork. So I'm really trying to like highlight that, and the other elements will kind of come into play. And ultimately, one of the challenges I've found is that the things that make the game most exciting to look at and play are kind of the things you add at the very end. It's like the icing on the cake. So I'm still really looking forward to adding those, and I'm still really happy with how the game is right now. But it is still kind of stressful when people actually play it, because you feel like you can see into the future in terms of what's going to be there, but not everyone's going to be able to do that. And then also one other little GIF here. It's kind of like the battle scene. So again, you just get a sense of kind of the artwork, kind of a 2D side view style. And yeah, kind of a cool kind of watercolored style. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. And I think the next slide. Yeah, so you also know I'm in a band. I just thought I'd take this opportunity to plug it. We're Sexy Mathematics, and you can check us out online and on Twitter. Listen to our music. Yeah, it's another project I'm working on. So anyway, that kind of sums up my talk. If you're interested, I have these little postcards that you can take to promote and find a little more information. You can also go to, basically I'm just going to go back to the beginning, emergentfates.com. to find out a bit more information about the game and kind of follow it. And if anyone's interested, come see me. I do have a playable version of it working on this iPad with some sounds and stuff too. So you can come check it out for yourself if you want, kind of get an idea of what it looks like, what it plays like. So yeah, it kind of wraps that up there. Any questions? Oh, you can clap if you want. I don't know.
Okay. Jason.
Oh no. Have you talked to any public?
Talk into the mic. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't realize there was a microphone.
Thanks for joining us.
I actually work at a mobile game publishing company, and I'm wondering if you've talked to any publishers, or if you have any plans to talk to publishers, or if you're planning on publishing it yourself.
Just going rogue. No, I basically, for those of you who aren't familiar, I actually live in Toronto, and there's a pretty cool, I mean, here as well, but like there's a cool group of indie developers out there, and a really good kind of support community in terms of things like publishers that help indie developers. And by that, I mean people like me who are basically working out of like their home or basement or whatever. So yeah, I've definitely been getting more involved with the community there and talking to people. And so once the game kind of gets, hopefully it's probably next year, I'll probably start kind of coming up with more concrete kind of arrangements and stuff. But that's definitely something I basically want to release it for what it is and push it as hard as I can to kind of make it, kind of get it in front of as many people as possible, you know, and without maybe worrying about, you know, how many necessarily sales there are, but just to kind of use that. And then hopefully in the future, when I make more games, it'll kind of, you know, serve to people know that that's the guy from Emergent Fates. Maybe this next game will look really good and maybe be okay. I'm not sure. We'll find out, but yeah.
Would you say this game is better than Jason Knight's version of Simon Says?
I haven't played Jason Knight's version of Simon Says, but yeah, I'd have to say yes.
All right.
I was going to ask you how you balance your work life with your. No, I'm just kidding.
Next question.
I may have missed this part, but who is the artist who did the artwork?
Oh yeah, it's Christina D. Basically, she's out of Toronto. I kind of met her through a friend. They both went to an animation school, I believe at Sheridan, and yeah, she basically just through a friend kind of found someone who was willing to, I guess, go into it in the long term, and it's worked out really well. So yeah, that's it.
Questions? All right.
All right.
Thank you very much.